You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. Ulises, today we have a very special episode, crossover edition. Haven't done one of those in a while, with our buddy Javi Reyes from the Locked On Padres podcast. If only anyone could guess why we would have Javi on the show during this offseason occasion and milestone that the Rays recently accomplished, stealing one of your players. So we'll get into that. But first, Ulises, I think we have to update the audience on an item or two.
Yes, we do. Let's hit that.
Javi loves it.
Yes. That's not what I expected. I thought it was going to be like a trivia question or something like that.
In a way, it's sort of
exactly. I made that, and I still giggle like that inside. So thank you for that's vindication. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
I got you.
I meant to do my homework, but I didn't get a chance. I mean, because we are counting up the days, I'm trying to think of who was a famous player that wore number 49. I can't think of any Rays off the top of my head. Javi, any Padres players or nah?
I don't know. I'm thinking more pop culture right now. Like I got nothing. Okay. I'm pretty sure there's like a Friday Night Lights character that's closer to that. I've got nothing on 49. 49 is kind of doesn't have a lot 49. Of aura. That number, you know?
Okay.
And I think about it. Maybe if we get there with U.S. presidents, maybe they'll like when we get to assuming we get there, right? Maybe then 49 might have a little bit, but I feel like it's a tough number, man. It's a tough one.
Okay, boys, I got it. Okay, actually, there's many options. There's like Jason Hamill, Dane De La Rosa, Kevin Kelly, Brendan McKay, Johnny Venters, Tommy Hunter, but we got to go with the one that's actually a tie between the Tampa Bay Rays and the San Diego Padres, which is our boy Kirby Yates.
Oh, I forgot about that. Wow, I apologize. My God, the casual comments I'm going to get after this. My God. Yeah, my boy Curb. We love Curb.
Let's go.
It's been a minute. I think he officially started getting hurt a lot right when I started hosting this podcast. So I apologize to my man Kirby. I do not apologize for forgetting the number, though, to a degree, because numbers in baseball I feel like if you're not 1 through 10, it's really hard sometimes, or 1 through 30. You know, I'll give 30.
Aaron Judge is looking at you funny now.
Ah, that's true, Aaron Judge. Well, he's low-key boring, so that's fine.
Yes, he is.
Outlier one. All right, let's get into it. The main topic du jour is Ha-Seong Kim signing with the Rays for millions upon millions of dollars, something that the Rays are not accustomed to doing, especially with a position player. They'll usually throw money out at pitchers in the free agent market, but not necessarily position players. Javi, when the news was broken and reported that Kim was leaving the Padres and coming to the Rays, what were your initial impressions and observations from that?
I think that there is, for the majority of 2024, like, end of season and heading into the offseason as well, I don't think anyone was surprised or would have been surprised that Ha-Seong Kim wouldn't be rejoining the Padres. Simple roster construction reasons, with Xander Bogaerts being on a long-term deal. They've got other guys. Their top prospect, Leota DeVries, is a shortstop. So there was no doubting that, like, this guy probably doesn't have a future here in San Diego. And then there was a brief period of what I can call hope, because the rumors and the reports is that Ha-Seong Kim is dealing with an injury, i.e., might not cost as much as he might have cost on a fully healthy, open market. I think he gets at least what maybe someone like Tommy Edman got, something like that, right, of the Dodgers. And instead, no, that of course didn't happen. And I think it's a real bargain for the Rays. I know that that's kind of the area that they operate in usually, but even still, I think that they could have just a nasty side of the infield. Basically, the San Francisco Giants, for my division, the NL West, they've got Matt Chapman and Willie Adames, former Ray. And now you guys have Ha-Seong Kim, and now I'm blanking on who was on the Rays, so this is unfortunate. But I think that for the most part that they can be a really good defensive team. And while Ha-Seong Kim isn't like this offensive stud, right? I think that he's just, as long as he maintains just being an average batter, this is one of the better defensive players in baseball as long as he's healthy. So I think it's a big one for them. And yeah, it's Junior Caminero. My bad. I forgot about the Zach Paredes trade for a second, so I was very confused.
You're going to know his name one day. He'll be jacking out 35 dingers, so just wait.
He broke the internet the other day. Come on.
I was just about to say, like, I know. Oh, believe me, no, I can't believe it. I mean, that was just one of the best calls we've had in a while. Yeah. But yeah, the Caminero thing, assuming the defense translates immediately, which I imagine it will, to top prospect for a reason. That side of the infield, man, it could be really nasty. And I've learned my lesson from counting out the Rays when the betting odds don't like them. I know they probably shouldn't this year. I don't care. I don't trust the AL East. I just don't trust that stupid division, man. It is just, it's always a new winner every year, like more or less, maybe 5 of the last 6 years. So I think it's a really good deal for the Rays, but it does make me sad.
Now, with Kim, you look at the numbers, and we went over this on Friday's episode. It's like, yeah, above average glove, above average base running, above average offense. If you just look at shortstops, if you just look at position players, about average. But nobody's going to know Kim's flaws like a Padres fan. So this guy has to have a flaw because every player has one. So is it streakiness? What is it about Kim that Rays fans are going to notice that it might be the flaw in his game?
I'd say the first thing that comes to mind would just be power, right? This is a guy who tapped into his power with the Padres and started pulling the ball a lot more, particularly in 2023, and started turning those pull balls into fly balls. And it resulted in, a decent amount of pop. He had 17 home runs in 2023, 11 in 121 games in 2024. He's not a home run hitter or anything like that, but I do wonder with a new ballpark. And, I mentioned Willy Adames before, and I know that's totally different situation, but sometimes we've seen players who are very pull heavy one way or the other, that the ballpark change can really affect their numbers. I imagine it will not affect his defense. But one thing about Ha-Seong Kim is I think what's exciting about him is doesn't strike out too much and does walk a good amount. So again, I think that the floor, it's just such a high floor guy to get as long as he's healthy. He's going to give you great defense. He can play around the field. He can play second. He can play short. He can play third if you ever need be. And he's going to be excellent at all of them. But like if he delivered like a 101 WRC plus 95, I wouldn't be shocked, especially in his first year with a new place. But given the contract, maybe he's going to be motivated. I think he's playing with a really smart organization. We know the Rays are a very smart organization. So it would probably be that. I don't know what left field the confines of Tropicana, or not Tropicana. My apologies. So what?
Not yet. Yeah, wait a couple years.
Yeah, like I forgot. Like so, whatever ballpark it ends up being, right? Like that is going to be the question: is how much of that power can he tap into? Is he going to have to turn it around? Because even the year that he hit 17 home runs, there is a degree of like, when you look at like the ballpark factor on Baseball Savant, like a lot of it significantly down to his power. But again, really good at drawing walks. Pretty decent leadoff hitter with the Padres in 23. One of the few things that was good for them in 2023. And he will see a lot of pitches, which is always a plus in my opinion. So, and also just a good lad. We love him. And believe me, I'm down to talk about best Ha-Seong Kim moments because that man is a folk hero in San Diego.
Yes, let's get to that. But first, gentlemen, I think we need to tell the audience something very important, and that is FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on all the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. What's also neat is the live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, well, that's just icing on the cake. So without further ado, go ahead, download the app or head to FanDuel.com FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5. And if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, the official partner of Super Bowl 59. All right, gentlemen, back at it. We are pleased to be joined by Javi Reyes from the Locked On Padres podcast, the well-esteemed podcast. If you get a chance, you like this episode, go ahead and give him a 5-star review, subscribe to his YouTube page, all that stuff. Just give him some love. He's an entertaining figure in the Locked On space. So just like, who do we have up there? Jose Caballero? No. Is that Kevin? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You're going too fast for me. I can't keep track. Now it's Kevin Cash. Now it's Yanni Diaz. If you're watching,
this is great.
Yes. Stu Sternberg. Okay, get that one out of here. He actually okayed the money to be allocated towards Kim. So we can't be too mad at him for that. But
and apparently the quote by Eric Neander, Race GM, was nobody was happier than me to get Kim. Well, actually, no. Stu was the happiest.
All right.
Okay, Eric. All right, then.
Hey, maybe he sees a lot of Kim jerseys being sold and he'll capitalize, profiteer off that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Just
right.
thinking outside the box with that one. But Javi, you mentioned all-time favorite Kim moments. Anything stick out to you, or is it more so some of the things we've seen and read is just his energetic play and his style of play and his intelligence as a ball player? It's like you watch him once and you immediately become a fan. But anything in particular that stands out about when he was in a Padres uniform the last several years?
As just like a general thing, his release when he's grabbing the ball to sling it to short, it just has such a velocity to it and a sling to it. It's so satisfying to watch, like even on TV. And I often find that defenses, it can't be as appreciated just because of the confines of how a baseball broadcast works. You can't see like the range that players have sometimes when you're watching on TV. But with Kim, it's like there's something so satisfying, man. He just beams the ball. It's a dot every single time, more or less. And of course, he has the range and whatnot too. He's not making, I don't know why Brandon Phillips came to mind, but Brandon Phillips like behind the back plays necessarily, right. But he hustles a lot. He is fast. He's got speed for sure. I believe he stole 30 bases his last fully healthy season with the Padres. 38 actually. He's great in that regard. I think some of my favorite moments, one was Manny Machado shouting "I love you" in Korean at him. Is just one of the most adorable things I've literally ever seen in my life. And I was very happy. I enjoyed I don't enjoy this player. I want to preface it by that, but the Eric Hosmer podcast, when he talked about Ha-Seong Kim, when he first came over from Korea, that he like he was he was just smoking packs like in the dugout and whatnot because he was dealing with
smoking heaters, crushing cigs,
just crushing them. And then he like stopped, and they're like, "All right, give me." And then he went on. I think it was like his second season that he had like 2 bad games to start the season or whatever, and they could like tell. They're like, "Uh-oh," and they came back. He said, "Mucho stress." That's like apparently he talks crap in Spanish. That's according to Nick Martinez of the Reds. That's the language he prefers that. So there's just a lot about this guy. He's a handsome devil. He just had this aura. I know that's the popular thing to say these days, but he just had that aura to him. He had a couple walk-off hits. I believe one of the first ones from last year. I believe it was the Rockies player that the Padres got. I'm blanking on his name, who tied the game, and then Ha-Seong Kim won it with a walk-off hit. Mm-hmm. He's just a blast, man. Like he rarely does anything wrong. He's not, he doesn't have the upside of your juniors, Camaneros or anything like that. But this is a guy that I think the only reason people are probably like, wow, paying that much for a guy who hit 230 last year aren't realizing like how much else he does. And this is a smart team. They do not miss on things like this. And I think that overall, what you're going to see happen, I think, is he's going to be an awesome player. I could see him be a 4.5 win player this year. I genuinely do believe that. And I think that you could see everyone being like, wow, how did this happen? He's a top 10 free agent potentially after the season. I could totally see that happening. So nobody should sleep on Ha-Seong Kim at the hot corner.
You said all the things that he can bring to the table, especially like if you're going to be a 4.5 win player
Mhm.
and you're not really known for your offense, you're doing something really well with your legs and your arm, right? So, but I want to get to the versatility. Obviously, I think the Rays should be playing him at short, and they most likely will be playing him mostly at shortstop once he comes back. But what about his at second base and third base?
Mhm.
Is it like a plug in and play where you don't see any difference? Is it actually better at second and third due to his great range at short? Like how would you grade him out at second or third?
I don't know if it would be like in the middle of a season thing, but I do know that last year with the Padres, obviously they signed Xander Bogaerts. He was amazing at shortstop,
Mhm.
right? Like I said, he's won a Gold Glove there. He had 10 defensive runs saved in 2022, 6 outs above average, and then played more second base. And immediately that very next year in 2023, 10 defensive runs saved and 7 outs above average. He's great. Like he's great. Maybe don't like throw him in and be like, all right, you're gonna play 90 games at short, and now we just need you to play second. Maybe not that, but that's kind of the case for every player in a lot of ways, right? Like just the change up for a lot of people. But I just think he's too talented. I think he's too talented, messed up, and I think he could also give you good value if Junior needs a day off, if Junior struggles, if for some reason, Taylor Walls ends up getting some more time at shortstop, whatever it may be. I think that he's just going to be this weapon in the infield for a team that's going to have to prevent runs, because it doesn't seem like it's a team that's from the outset set up to be, a slugfest or anything like that. Unless Yandy Diaz has another Juan Soto type year, right? Like the Juan Soto light year that he had at 23. So I just think this is I just love this guy so much, man. I don't know if you guys can tell.
No, that's great to hear. And I think that, again, Rays fans are going to be big fans of him when he returns from injury and is able to be available on the field. And 4.5 WAR, that's I wouldn't say lofty. I think it's within reason, but you bring that up and it makes me worry that he won't exercise the player option, that he would opt out and go back to free agency. I guess that's a very real possibility. And, it makes sense because I think it's so funny. We were talking about it on Friday that if you looked at FanGraphs in their top 50 free agents of this year, that he was number 9, and they more or less projected him to get, between 4 to 5 years and $70 to $100 million. He certainly didn't get that here, but I guess this contract was kind of a good middle ground of, yeah, you're still going to get some money, but you have the ability to opt out after 1 year and get that big payday in 2026 and beyond. So
yeah, it feels like just one of those contracts where my only concern with Kim would just be health. And I think that that's both a scary sign and a good sign, in the sense that I just have no doubt about his playing ability. But yes, and I imagine you guys have talked forever about spending in baseball. I certainly have. The Dodgers fans are still in my comments as we speak. But, this is a widespread epidemic in baseball. It doesn't just entail that LA team. But I do think that, just in terms of the right now, without getting on the soapbox, yeah, man, I think he could be a huge value. 4.5 is a bit high, but even still, 4.2 was his career best with the Padres. And that also featured like a crazy end of season slump. So if he just doesn't have that again, he's great. He's still young enough. He's motivated. It's a good play. And I think that there are shortstops in the game that get all the headlines, right? So you've got your Corey Seagers, you've got your Bobby Witt Juniors, your Gunnar Hendersons, your Lindors. But after that top crop, guys, it's not like it's a deep position right now. Like there's a lot of good players. I would even be surprised if Jeremy Pena had a good year. But overall, I mean, in the American League East, just thinking of shortstops right now, it's Volpe. I think he's a better player than Anthony Volpe right now. I haven't seen anything to suggest that he's going to figure out his offensive game to make up for the lack of, what am I saying? I haven't seen anything to suggest that he's going to take that next step offensively. Blue Jays, Bo Bichette, his is all offense, no defense. Red Sox is probably some prospect that hasn't played yet before that I'm unaware of. And then who's the last team that I'm forgetting about?
Well, Gunnar Henderson, right?
They Gunnar Henderson. Okay, my bad. So second best shortstop in the division, though, I think is what Ha-Seong Kim is going to be.
I'll take it.
That. To Kevin's point, with if he's too good, maybe he will exercise his opt out. There was a quote that kind of speaks to this. He said, "I'm very honored to join a very good organization like the Tampa Bay Rays, and I'm excited to spend a very competitive season with the Rays this season. Now, does Kim always use a translator, Javi?
Pretty much, except for when like he's talking back to players.
Except when he's saying mucho stress.
Yeah, except when he's saying mucho stress after ripping cigs after a game. Yeah.
Which I mean, hot take here, but I think that would make baseball a little bit more exciting if you just saw guys doing.
It would make them a little bit more personable. But no, to my point, to my point is, I don't know if that was a legit kind of like, yeah, I'm out after this year, or there was some, translating, from Korean to English that might not have translated very well. But I just wanted to make sure. So he always uses his translator, correct?
Yeah, from basically everything that I follow. And again, maybe he just didn't. It's possible not to think about it. You're just like really excited to be competitive this year. And then you were like, oh, wait, yeah, I forgot I had a player option. Like, this is going to get taken the wrong way. You know what I mean? And this is he doesn't like the stress. So I imagine he doesn't want to put more onus on himself and make the Rays fans think, wow, this guy's just getting stopped by for a cup of coffee.
But he is a Boris client, and Boris could push him to, hey, if you have a good enough season and we feel you can get more money elsewhere, so be it. Not to say that, he opts out and maybe the Rays love him so much that they decide to bring him back, even though, we have one of the top shortstop prospects in baseball in Carson Williams. So
should we stop with the whole Boris clients don't sign with the Rays after this?
Can we stop with, in general, some of the weird critiques of Scott Boras? I don't understand this.
Oh, you know what?
My take.
Get on your soapbox for the next 43 seconds. Go.
I don't understand why in a sport where the Seattle Mariners are basically like, hey, fans, screw you. You better just hope that Julio Rodriguez can carry a team like Alex Rodriguez back in the day, because we're going to sign Donovan Solano, and that's it. I don't understand why Scott Boras is the bad guy for getting players overpaid. Like, oh, what an awful thing to occur. And he only does it because he has the best talent. Oh, yeah, so it's just a coincidence that the best players in the sport always choose him as their agent. So, like, I don't understand what's going on here. And by the way, he's only missed on a couple. And it was Cody Bellinger, but he still got him a $75 million contract, and he's not a very good player. And, he made Matt Chapman and Blake Snell settle. Yeah, really hasn't gone well for either of those two players. They're really suffering right now. They bet on themselves. That's what they do. Maybe that's the new strat, is if it's not there, he's like, sign this deal, and then you get paid afterwards, because you just got to wait for the market to materialize. I just don't understand.
Even Jordan Montgomery, bro. Even Jordan Montgomery, like, should he have signed earlier? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but even in the context, is like, he was horrible last year, and he got him a player opt-in, and guess what? After that horrible year, I'm opting in. So even
and he might be great this year.
Exactly.
Like, there's a reason people sign with him. And I do think the monopolization of him getting every client is coming to an end to some degree. And I think that that's good. But that doesn't mean he stinks now, despite some people in my personal life that love to call things overrated, because that's just the most easy engagement word to use these days. But,
Right.
Have you all seen some of the clauses in Kim's contract with the Rays?
Ooh, hit us.
Yeah.
Okay. So in addition to a $13 million salary, Kim can earn up to $2 million more this season based on plate appearance incentives. He gets $200,000 at each plateau: 325, 345, 365, 385, 405, 425, 450, 475, 500, and 525. Of course, we talked about the opt-out clause for 2026 and that $16 million salary that he could say no to. He also has a clause to have the number 7 jersey. So I believe he will take number 7 and Caballero will take 77. Okay. He also gets 8 round trip business class airline tickets to Korea per year.
Cool.
English lessons and services of an interpreter and rehab trainer. So those are some of the perks of Ha-Seong Kim.
That's really cool.
What a gangster. Yeah, he's just like, I'm just going to take some trips every now and then. You know what I
mean? And unlimited Marlboros, evidently.
Right.
That's so cool about the English lessons, man. That's such a great gig. Javi, we got like 3-4 more minutes, and I want you to educate Rays fans on this whole ownership squabble that's going on. They're in San Diego. If you could summarize it in bullet points for Rays fans to just get a little bit more knowledgeable on what's going on then over there, please, the floor is yours.
I mean, basically, there's an ownership dispute of who actually is the main control person. Sheila Seidler, the widow of the late Peter Seidler, has filed a lawsuit against Rob and Matt Seidler, who are believed to be the control people and whatnot. They believe to be in charge. And long story short, we're going to have some beef over this. I don't know if they're going to find out and settle this before opening day, but it is impossible not to note that the Padres have been pretty quiet this offseason. I think it's fair to say that. And even though they are under the luxury tax threshold, it says a lot. Not that they're not getting, Juan Soto. Obviously, that wasn't going to be something that they could do, but it says a lot that they can't re-sign a player like Kyle Higashioka. They can't go out and, for a team that's pretty built for right now, with some contracts that are coming up with Michael King and Dylan Cease, that they can't be like, you know what, since we're kind of built a lot for this year, let's go give Jack Flaherty an optional year, right? Let's do that deal that he just did with the Tigers. I do think it says a lot. It's not that they can't sign, Max Fried for 8 years. That's fine. That's not the issue. The issue is all those little other pieces, and there's still time, because I was seeing Ken Rosenthal on, I forgot which podcast it was, saying that the markets have kind of dried up a little bit. So you might see a lot of Kim deals or less here on out. And maybe that could benefit the Padres. Maybe they know something and that they can get some cheap players just for like a year or two. I think that would behoove them. But overall, it's just, I think the strife, and ever since Peter passed, right, I could get on my soapbox about how if it was an owner of another team, that the media wouldn't call us villains in the middle of a playoff series, and that they would instead talk about how sad it is that their owner passed away and that you should be rooting for them. But unfortunately, we are from the wrong side of California, I believe. But nonetheless, it is a really messy situation. I can only feel for Sheila and what she's going through. And then also, we don't know what's true. I'm not taking one side or the other. These are just allegations, and it's been going all over the place, and I frankly don't know what to think. But what I do know is not a coincidence that the biggest move that this team has made since Peter's passing, whether it be Rob and Matt's fault or it's Sheila's fault, whatever, is trading away Juan Soto. Like, that is the biggest move they made. And it worked, by the way, for what it worked. They got a great return, but that is the biggest move they made. And I think that says a lot for a team that, as long as I've known you guys, every offseason and deadline, they've made like some crazy type of splash or whatnot. A lot of offseason left for sure, but that's where we're at.
Can you also, I thought you were going to do this earlier on, but can you thank Rays Nation for the Padres getting Blake Snell once upon a time, getting Jason Adam more recently, getting Jake Cronenworth more recently, or several years ago, I should say now. Where's the thank you for getting major league players and not prospects?
Hey, it's funny on a couple things. One, this is back at the peak of don't trade with the Rays, which I still kind of agree with. You got to be careful. If they ask you for some like random player you're not thinking about, be careful, man. You don't know if that guy's going to be.
It could wind up being Junior Caminero.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know. But the Padres have done pretty well with trading with the Rays. Now, Jason Am, that's different. Like, it's a team that's, they were in a seller mode, so that's a little bit different. But the Blake Snell trade looked awful in that first year, and then he was just, he's just one of my favorite pitchers. I just love how he looks like he hates pitching sometimes. Like when he pitches, he's like, ugh, like when he's getting over the plate, and then he's the best strikeout pitcher in all of baseball as soon as he's like gets into his groove. Yeah. So that turned out really great. And I still have an interaction with someone on Twitter who was yelling at me about Xavier Edwards, I believe, and how he's going to be so much better than Cronenworth. Believe it or not, the jury might still be out on that, although he's no longer a Ray. But hey, they've done pretty well. I do thank you for Blake Snell. That was awesome. It does think that the Padres kind of wasted him, his Cy Young year especially. But you know what? I did enjoy him. I enjoyed his WRC Plus rant. Not rant, but did you guys see that interview where he's like,
classic?
But why the plus? And I was like, good question. Why is it at the plus?
That's awesome.
What a beautiful soul Blake Snell is. Yeah. And I have to go against him next year, which is good for the game, guys.
It's good for the game.
Good for the game. Remember, it's good for the game when only 5 fan bases get to have fun every offseason. It's actually great.
I love it.
We're monopolizing just the best teams. Like, why even, everything else is an exhibition now.
Wait, do you think the Dodgers are going to make the playoffs? Can we ask that question? Like, yeah, they are. The question is how much triple digits wins they're gonna get.
And before they're gonna yell at me anyway. They don't even watch what I say anyway. But it's like, yeah, I'd say the same thing if it's the Yankees, if it's the Mets. It's a
we would be
sign.
livid. We would be livid if it were the Yankees.
Oh,
Oh
I
my
imagine.
gosh.
I
Oh my
imagine.
God.
Look, it's just my take is it's a sign of a really, really damaged league that you are profiting off of. It's not their fault, but it is a sign that it's like me bragging about how I'm really good in my fantasy basketball league right now, but 4 of the owners don't pay attention and one of them is in a rebuild. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's like, go you get to like celebrate, but like don't act like everything is as simple as 1-to-1. We all start at the same start line and finish line.
But
It's not great, but we'll see.
As baseball fans, we should know baseball needs to do so many bad things until they're like, hey, we should kind of fix this. So this is just part of the course. Like, we need to see this. Yeah, we need to see the Dodgers go nuts for MLB to finally go, okay, maybe we should do something about this. But you know what people shouldn't do about this is not subscribing to Locked On Padres on YouTube. Javi, how can people find your podcast?
You can find wherever you get your podcasts from. Just Google it, Locked On Padres. And if you want updates on the show or just whatever dumb thing I'm doing, frankly, that's at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO on Twitter/X or Blue Sky. Look forward to that. And also subscribe to Just Baseball. I work out a bunch of written content over there. And I also do a newsletter to keep you up to date on sort of the big happenings in the sport. So be sure to do that and stay rayed up, my friends.
There we go. We appreciate it. All right. We will talk to everybody